Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 3rd meeting of the Ways and Means Committee. Everyone, please stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please identify the members that are here of the entire City Council?
Members of the Ways and Means Committee are in alphabetical order: Councillor Guanasso, Councillor Reardon is absent, Councillor Patch, Councillor Zambuto, and Chairman Powers. With us today we also have Councillor Rigo, Councillor Correggio, Councillor Giannino, Councillor Haas, Councillor Novoselsky, and Council President Penta. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for this meeting is a request by the Mayor to reinstate approximately $334,000 in the FY 2013 municipal budget. The first item is $114,000 that was designated as a Quinn Bill overtime. And I know, in my opinion, and I'm sure my fellow colleagues share the same sentiments, that $114,000 should have been in the overtime account, not designated as Quinn Bill overtime. While the officers do, as a matter of contractual agreement, get overtime on the Quinn Bill, it should be all lumped together, and I've spoken to the Chief of Police as recently as today regarding this. The other item is additionally in the Board of Health salaries account, there was $220,000 deleted, and it was our opinion that money should have come out. It should be in the school department budget, and there is a reason for that. I've spoken with Mr. Catanazzo, the director over the health department, and my understanding is the reason for that money being in the health department budget is that if you're a nurse in the school department, you're required by the Mass Teachers Association, I believe, to obtain a master's degree in nursing, and as a result, once they do attain that, there's such a demand out there in the private sector for nurses with a master's degree that we lose them, and they go off, and we have to fill the positions again. My further understanding is that that $220,000 is deleted from the net school spending which the city is required to give to the school department. So it's just a transfer over from our department to the school department, and my understanding is, I spoke with Laurie Giardella, the city auditor, we are reimbursed for that. Now I want to open this up to my colleagues on the Ways and Means Committee. I'll take Councilor Guanasso first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first thought that comes to mind is that back in May, when we were discussing the budget for fiscal year 12, what do we do under actually fiscal year 13? When we cut that, what was the mindset? Because that looks like a play on words. We cut it in May and restore it in December. And to some of us, we thought there was an objective to this, that we would lower our tax assessment based on these types of figures. You're talking $334,000. I'm still perplexed as to how we allowed it in the first place to be put into the Quinn Bill overtime account, when in fact it should have been as you stated earlier, just right into the overtime on the police budget. That provision with the Quinn Bill has been bantered around these last few months, whereas the state has reneged on their obligation to fulfill their commitment. And now it's placed upon cities and towns to pick up the slack of this. And lo and behold, we find in most recent weeks that the governor is now stating that there's a shortage in revenue collected by the state, and we all know too well that the next axe that hits is the local aid to cities and towns. So we're going to experience some severe cutbacks, I would assume, not being a naysayer, but being a person that tries to be as objective as possible. So the only thing is, I don't think we have much choice but to restore these two items this evening, but I think it heeds us to look forward to the future when we speak again in May for the new budget, that we take into consideration that we don't reduce our levy by these two, that we don't reduce anything that we're going to have to restore 4 to 6 months later. So, because that to me just represents a falsehood that isn't there. I'm concerned with the Quinn Bill. I'm concerned about the affordability of the taxpayer of Revere, whether we can afford it. This is something that we made agreement with them when the negotiations were taking place that we wouldn't touch the Quinn Bill, and obviously we should honor our commitment. But we have to weigh heavily in this new council next year when we sit down and review the budget to anticipate a loss and a reduction in revenues by the state, and how we as a city will face revenues based on the reduction from the state giving us money. So I think we've got our hands full here. But again, tonight, I don't think we have any less item to do but to restore it. And that's what I think I'll be doing. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Councilor Ganasso. I'm going to call on members of the committee first. And by virtue of the fact that he's the council president, Councilor Penta has an automatic vote on the committee, so Council President Penta, so I'm going to call on him. Council President Penta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it was myself that actually asked this council to take a vote to make these two cuts. These are two cuts that I asked the Ways and Means Committee to cut. Reason being, and I think he's doing a great job. I always said it was Ambrosino's greatest hiree, and I still believe that. Nicky Catanazzo stood at that podium, and I asked him, doesn't the school department pay for these nurses? He said yes. So I said, what's the difference if we're cutting in the city's end if the school department's going to reimburse us? And that's why I did it. So now if you tell me the net school funding, we're giving them $200,000 less, I'd like to see that. Because I'm not voting to restore this right now. Because we have to, by law, give them net school funding. Not a deal here, a hole here, an insert here. So with that being said, the school department, one way or the other, would owe us $200,000. If we gave them $200,000 less, I don't think we can do it by law, but I'm not an attorney. And that's why I made the cut. Second of all, the Quinn Bill. Councilor Granasso, 100% right. We're one of the only cities that pay 100% of the Quinn Bill. Now, I wasn't on the council that voted that budget. Mayor Ambrosino negotiated that in contract. That Councilor Patch brought that up, and he's right. And I'm not looking to short the police. They need more money than they have now. But to call it overtime Quinn is insult to my intelligence and everybody up here. Should be an overtime account. How much money do you want to get from the Quinn? You're getting the city's end, the state end, and now you're saying I want overtime on the Quinn money? Give me a break. I'm going to give you another pet peeve of mine because it's a pet peeve of mine for years in the police department. We have a night differential budget. Contractual agreement, have to fund it. People working days get night differential. And I've been saying it for 15 years, it still hasn't been changed. Night differential, almost every one of those people working days. That's the average person out there, a little common sense. Night differential means you work after hours, you work nights. Not that I worked 10 years. That's longevity in the city. So to me, the budget has to be scrapped from the police department and done over and worded the right way. This has to be done because, you just can't keep going on year after year. Oh, that's how it's been done. I get tired of that. That's how it's been done. Doesn't make it right. And if we ever do get hit with the state shortfall, we're in some trouble. And the city's on an upswing, it's on a move, but the recession could put that back a few steps. So we got to watch our pennies. So myself, unless the wording's going to be changed in the Quinn Bill overtime, I'm voting against both of them. Thank you.
Well, Council President Penta, I did speak with the chief today, and I relayed those thoughts to him on behalf of this council, that should come in either as overtime or reduced or whatever the case may be. It should not say Quinn Bill overtime. And I also, with regard to the net school spending, I also spoke with the Laurie Giardella, and she assured me that that money is coming out of the school department net school spending, whatever we're required to give them by law. So I have to take, she's the auditor, and I have to take her word for that.
But let me ask you, so I get this straight. We are short in the school department $220,000, whatever the figure is.
That's correct.
The
It's
city
being,
shop.
it's being transferred.
You're 100% sure of that?
I'm positive. According to, that's what she told me. And I questioned her on it several times. And she said that they are not getting $220,000 extra. It's coming out as a transfer. I don't know how they transfer it, but it's coming out on their books, coming over to the city side to fund not only the $220,000, but also the insurance and the health care is being picked up by the school department.
Well, I mean, I'd just like to see that in writing or anything else. I haven't seen anything. And the thing is, I don't know what the last hour, we're not at the last hour in this. We still have 7 months left to this budget. So it's not like this money is needed tomorrow morning. So, I mean, I would like to see something in writing from these people that are telling you stuff that I tend to almost not believe, but I don't want to say that. But,
Well,
I mean, net school funding is net school funding. I was always told that.
well,
I have not shortchanged net school funding. You're telling me it's the city shortchanged net school funding?
That's
And then we're
correct.
just,
I have a letter here from the mayor indicating that.
that the city did it, and it's
Yep.
legal.
Yep, that's what he's telling me. And I have to, he's the mayor and she's the auditor, and I have to.
Can I have a copy of it? The committee have a copy
Certainly,
of that, please?
certainly. I'm going to call on Councilor Zambudo as a member of the committee, and then I'll call on Councilor Patch. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm as frustrated as the president is on this issue, and this, net school spending is a shield, I think, for what amounts to a pretty sophisticated sleight of hand. We're dictated to give X amount of dollars every year. They call this net school spending. We're told that we're reimbursed for all these things. When I was chairman of Ways and Means, I forced former Mayor Ambrosino to put an extra $100,000 into the school snow removal budget. That the city was removing all the snow from the school for $20,000. You can't even buy a load of salt for one storm for $20,000. Now, I'm hoping that's still in there because you can't read this stuff, and that's the point I'm trying to make. We're being asked or being told we need to put $220,000 back into the school department budget because it was paid twice, or we didn't pay it in net school spending, and somehow it's, even though we're told we're reimbursed, we're not, and it's just, I think what we need up here, and if you are the chairman of Ways and Means in the next council session, I think we need, number one, to have an educational seminar on the net school spending, what it means, how we can actually really know what's going on with the budget at the school department, because we don't even get response up here when you ask for a presentation. We don't even get any response. So it's, and the other thing is the police department, and we all know that the new chief is doing a great job. The morale is better at the police department. Those guys are killing themselves. Things are turning around here, but the one thing that isn't is the way the budget is structured at that police department. It's a disgrace. To have Quinn overtime, even if it is Quinn overtime, the wording is, as Council President Penta says, is offensive. Let's have what's what on paper. So that's my recommendation, that in the next session of the council, and if you're the chairman of Ways and Means, I would hope that you would facilitate that, because this kind of stuff really makes you crazy. Thank you.
I agree with you, Counselor. I think what we have to do next year is perhaps have a workshop with the mayor and define to him exactly how we want this budget to be worded. Counselor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify the issue on the Quinn Bill. I know we had some questions at the last meeting. This agreement is in the contract of the Patrolman Union in Superior's office is union. It was a question about the where there's no they're working without a contract, or are they working with a contract? Well, they are working under the last contract, because that is state law signed by Governor Patrick in November 2011. It's called the Evergreen Clause. So that last contract's in place until whenever Mayor Rizzo and the unions get together and agree on a new contract. Now, as far as the Quinn Bill, this was done back under Mayor Ambasino, negotiating with the two police unions in 2009. And what happened is they gave up under the negotiations. The unions gave up percentage points as far as an increase, and they also agreed to drug testing, and Mayor Ambasino gave them in return the state part of the Quinn Bill. So that's how that came about. But as far as now, I think it's the wording. Quinn is overtime is upsetting my colleagues. It's probably stated that way because not everybody's getting it. It just whoever had the Quinn Bill up to 2009, when they work overtime, they get the percentage of the Quinn. So there are officers that don't even get Quinn overtime. So that's probably why they title it Quinn Overtime. So if that helped you out a little bit, it's under contract, and by law, I know that I had a conversation with the chief that they have been paying this right along. So by law, he has to pay it. So he's been paying it since July. So that's why I think we ought to, as a body, vote to grant this money, this transfer, because yeah, I mean it only leaves us liable for probably a lawsuit, or it's just by the only way it can be changed is under the negotiation for the new contract. So that's up to the new mayor, the new administration, and the two unions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Patch. Councilor Rigo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to Councilor Patch's last point, which was that it's up to the mayor to negotiate, I think the idea was in May that the Quinn overtime and even the Quinn Bill money that I requested to be put into a separate account would be kind of separated out from the police budget so that the mayor has the flexibility to negotiate. If we put that money in the budget in May, when the police go to the table to negotiate, that money's already in the budget. That's a given. So by separating it out, it gives the mayor a little bit of flexibility in negotiating the contract, which is up, with the patrolman. So as far as I think the thinking behind it was that we could, potentially give the mayor the opportunity to do as he sees fit with Quinn Bill, if it's reduce it or change it. But if we put that money in the budget, That's their starting point as far as police negotiations. And as far as the evergreen clause, it was reinstated by the governor, but it's not mandatory in contracts. So that's something to remember. And the Supreme Judicial Court decided that it was unfair to cities and towns, but it has been reinstated. But I think the thinking behind separating money out for Quinn Bill and even in cutting the overtime for Quinn Bill was giving the mayor that flexibility to make a decision. We're at a point right now where he hasn't negotiated with the union, so we may have to reinstate this. But I think the idea was that we could give him a little bit of flexibility. There's a lot you can do with over $800,000 between Quinn Bill, the regular Quinn Bill, and Quinn Bill overtime. So I think the idea was to give him a little bit of flexibility and during contract negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rigo. Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Chairman Powers. I'm in full agreement of restoring the Quinn Bill. It's a union issue. They negotiated for that, and it also affects a lot of other things besides a pay increase. I mean, they spent money for books, for education. Some of them they have an associate's degree, and it affects their longevity. And so they bargained for that. So it's a union issue. They negotiated for it. It should be restored. And as far as the nurses' money, that's needed. We don't want to jeopardize the school department for that. So I'm for restoring both funding for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Correggio. One of the points that I brought up to the chief today was that in the event of, let's say, there's a lateral transfer to another department, or we can't fill the complement of officers budgeted in the current budget because of academy problems and not getting the people out of the academy, that there's money in there. And one of the good things he told me today is that they are, within the next couple of weeks, going to be opening a West Side police station up on this side of Broadway, directly across from the City Hall, in that building that's being renovated. And the reason he wants to do that is because with the increased traffic in the city, particularly with the thought of a casino coming into the city, it would be much more difficult to get service from the east side of the city over to the west side of the city, and he felt it would be good to have that station there. It would be a convenience also for the citizens of this city that live on the west side, that they don't have to drive all the way down there to fill police reports, etc. So that's one of the things that the money is being used for. And the other thing, too, is we have two, I believe, police officers on Broadway during peak hours when the school is getting out. And to me, that's a positive thing. It encourages people to come up to Broadway, and this is one of the things that I know all of us want to do, is to revivorate the business district here, and so the money is being used in a good manner, and I can assure you that, because I know Chief Caffarelli wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm going to, if there's any other comment that wants to be made by the councilors, I'd like to take these items up for a vote right now. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the restoration of appropriations for the FY 2013 budget, $114,000 to the Police Department Quinn Bill overtime account and $220,000 to the Board of Health salaries for school nurses account. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Penta?
No.
No. And Chairman Powers?
Yes.
Yes. The matter will be reported out favorably to the full City Council.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I apologize. I have two other items that we have in committee, and I'd like to bring those up tonight and then report them out later in the meeting, in the regular meeting. And the first is a request from a motion by Councilor Novoselsky that the mayor request the appropriate department to install emergency parking ban strobe lights in visible locations around the city. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this has been one of my quests for the last 7 years on the City Council, knowing that the snow emergency bans are not, other than Code Red, are not open to people knowing that they're in effect. And you go into Chelsea and Winthrop and Everett, and you see these flashing blue lights so people know that there's a snow emergency ban going on. And it's good for people that come in from outside the city to know that this is happening during the time of a major snowstorm. And we passed it 7 years ago, and we try to fit it into Homeland Security projects, and unfortunately it wasn't our time to get those funds. But I know that Chief Doherty is working with USAREC to try and get funding through them, and he feels confident that this may be our year to get it. And I think it's incumbent in that we ask the mayor to pursue this, and it would be up to him to whether or not yay or nay it. But I think it's a positive thing that the city council go in favor of it and let him know that if he can find the money, that let it go through and make it happen. So I would ask that the committee approve this and pass it on to the city council for submission to the mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Novoselsky. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support this motion, but I'd like to see it name the USAREC grant in there and as a funding source. I don't know what this is going to cost, and I can't just vote for it on a whim of the money's going to be there somewhere. I want a funding source.
Does the maker of the motion agree to that? Or?
Well, I don't know if that's guaranteed, though. If it doesn't come through, but I think it's we have already passed motions. We do it every week, all year long for the last 12 years that I've been on, letting the mayor decide whether or not it's going to happen.
Okay, I'll change my amendment to say with some type of funding source. How's that?
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo.
Fine, I'll accept that.
Thank you,
amendment.
Councilor
Thank you.
Novoselsky. Are there any other councilors that want to speak on this? Council President Penta.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the maker of the motion. I tend to agree with Councilor Zambudo a little bit. Do we have any idea what the cost is? Any at all? I mean, is this $1,000, $50,000, $100,000? Do you have any idea?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's something we should do first, is get an idea what it is. I mean,
let the mayor decide that.
Well, the other thing is, we're a body here that takes a vote, and when we take it, the mayor has to do two things. The mayor just doesn't do what he wants. He can veto it, okay? Or he cannot sign it, or sign and come back to us. So there's options he has. In other words, if he's not doing what we say, usually we come up here and put the motion again asking why. So, I mean, I don't just see a blanket thing here, the mayor. Let's get an answer. How much is it going to cost?
Mr. President.
Well, why don't we ask the mayor to look into it
Well, I
and
think the
report
fire
back,
chief
Yeah.
probably, he's
Yeah.
got the electrician. I'm sure he can give it to him in
and
a week's
report
time.
back to the council with the
I'd
funding.
appreciate that
funding
before we
cost.
just vote a blanket.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
Get it done.
With all due respect,
Councilor
I know I'm
Novoselsky.
not a member of the committee, but why is it that all of a sudden we're concerned about one particular item when things get passed every single week that include money, and we leave it up to the mayor to decide whether or not he could find the funds to do it? You even said it yourself, Mr. President, that the mayor has three choices. He could sign it, he could veto it, or just let it die and not sign it. Then let him make that decision, not us. If he feels he could find the money, so be it. If he wants to put it in the next budget, so be it. But at least let him look into it through his staffing and see if he can make it happen or not. I don't know why it should sit in committee all the time, just for the sake of us waiting for somebody else. Let it be at his level to do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Council
I
President
basically
Penta.
still at the floor, but to put something out there, and not have a cost on it, is ludicrous. And because certain councils put motions in to look politically right and put hundreds of millions of dollars out there, and it doesn't get done, you've never seen me put one in. I know how government happens to work. But to put one in to sound good that you're going to get something done, when he basically just said it never gets done, that's pretty sad. My thing is, find out, I'm asking the council to find out what it costs. You're going to tell the taxpayers, well, we just voted on something, it cost $500,000? He clearly said he has no idea what it
Mr.
costs.
Chairman.
If it's agreeable to the maker of the
I
motion.
mean, what are we doing to the poor
Mr.
taxpayer?
Chairman.
I would like to have the motion amended to have the mayor report back to the city council what it would cost to do this, and then if the council is in agreement, proceed.
That's fair enough. And I think it's a
Councilor
great
Ganassi.
motion and
Mr.
something
Chairman.
Uh,
should be done. But I mean, we've got to start doing things the right way and get costs.
Councilor
Thank you.
Ganassi.
Mr. Chairman, I think the council president has a valid point. I think that with the submission of something like this, and it's vague to us in dollars and cents of what we're talking about, and there's no sense of urgency here that I could see, what further can we do? We can just ask simply, what's the cost factor involved here, and take it upon a next meeting. Very simple. I mean, it shouldn't take long to discuss it once we get a figure.
Well, that's what my amendment would do.
Well, let's do that. That's a good.
Are you agreeable, Councilor Novoselsky? Okay.
President, it's obvious it's not going to pass the way it is. And
Please,
it's obvious that, you know, that there's a sequence happening here that hasn't happened in this council in the last 12 years.
Okay.
So I don't know what the reasoning is for the council president to do this, other than him not knowing and not letting the mayor find out and decide whether or not he can do it or not, which has been a standard practice. But, you know, I think the mayor has already been asked to do this through the clerk. You know, the last time, I don't know where it stands now, but, you know, the season is coming upon us. We're going to have snow emergencies. And initially, when I asked for it years ago, just to put them on the central fire tower, so they stick out for the four sides. So, you know,
We're going to amend this, Ashley, to.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman,
you-
you basically made a statement. Will you tell me what sequence we're trying to do here, or what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to do things the right way here. Be fair to the mayor on top of it, and, you know, have a price tag,
I
not
think
just say let the mayor do it.
that's what I'm saying, to have the
I mean-
mayor look into the feasibility and report back to the council on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, it's going to be amended that way, Ashley. Please call the roll of the committee.
Roll call on the motion as amended by Chairman Powers. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Penta?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Reardon is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Powers?
Yes.
Yes, the motion is passed as amended.
Okay, and the next item is a motion by Councilor Novoselsky that the mayor appropriate funds to have all city employees attend mandatory service training. Councilor Novoselsky.
thank you, Mr. President. I did my speech on this when I started it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But I know the mayor is working on this already. You know, it's part of his program, you know, for the future of the city. And I just think it would show that the city council is supporting him on his efforts for this. Thank you.
Call the roll, please, on the motion.
On the motion, Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Penta?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Reardon is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Powers?
Yes.
Yes, the motion is approved.
And with that said, this will conclude the meeting of the Ways and Means Subcommittee. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.